Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and welcome to my 100th show. Today, we're going to get some insight in college basketball at the Ivy League level. My guest today is Courtney Banghart. She is the head women's basketball coach at Princeton University, and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Congrats on your 100th.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, usually I start my guests where they went to college. So, where'd you go to school?
Well, I went to Dartmouth College up in northern New Hampshire. Having been a New Hampshire native, it made a lot of sense for me. It was great.
Great. So let's go back in time. In high school, when did you go through the process? When did it start? Freshman year, senior year? How did it all begin for you?
You know, I being from southern New Hampshire, I was a three-sport athlete and played sort of every season I was doing something. And the sport that I was probably best at was soccer. So I ended up playing that all throughout the summers and all through this, basically all year. And so I was a soccer recruit coming out of high school, and I was choosing between originally Boston College and Notre Dame, both of whom great academic institutions, and they came with a little bit of financial help, which is good. And my dad, he was the one that really encouraged that I look at the Ivy League, and if I could utilize my sport talent to get an opportunity to go to one of the best schools in the country, I should take that up. And at that time, I visited Dartmouth College. The head coach at the time was named Steve Swanson, who by the time my senior fall came around, he called me and he said, I've made a coaching change. I'm taking the head coaching job at Stanford. So you can either come with me to Stanford or you can stay on at Dartmouth as one of their top recruits. And at that point I said, or maybe a third choice, I'm going to call the basketball coach at Dartmouth. And that's what I did. And luckily I had an opportunity to be a part of that program and had great success. And things happen for a reason, and I'm really lucky.
Wow. That's a fantastic story.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, so did it start freshman year in high school, senior year? When did you really start getting really good at the sport?
You know, I think luckily I had played it for so long and all year round. So I had been recognized as a high-level soccer player, you know, at the ODP and national level. I was a high school All-American. So recruiting happened early, but I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't engage fully in the process until probably my junior year.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
So now, how does one go from Dartmouth College and graduating from there to head women's basketball coach at Princeton University? Yeah,
you know, it's not a direct line. You know, I went to having majored in neuroscience at Dartmouth. I didn't know that sports was a vocation. For me, it was always my passion, and I didn't yet understand that that's what you should do professionally is find your passion. And so when I graduated from Dartmouth, I became an athletic director at a high school down in Washington D.C., a boarding school, for 3 years, and I coached tennis and basketball there, and really got a chance to lead a group. And then after my second year, my former collegiate coach at Dartmouth asked me to come back, and I said no. I was really happy as learning a lot as a high school administrator. And then after my third year, she asked me again. And at that point, I thought, you know what, if you'll pay for my master's, seems like a great way to get a graduate degree paid for. And so they did. Dartmouth paid for my master's degree, and I was a full-time college basketball coach, a full-time graduate student, and ended up realizing that basketball coaching is absolutely a very meaningful vocation.
Great. So now you're at Dartmouth as a basketball coach there?
Yeah.
And then how did Princeton get involved?
You know, it was an interesting spring. I had turned 29 years old. I had applied for The Amazing Race, which is that great show on TV. And then I had defended my graduate thesis all in the same week. Wow. And in that week, I get a call from the Princeton athletic director at the time, Gary Walters, asking me if I had interest in the head coaching job at Princeton. And, you know, I obviously was really lucky. He had followed my career as a player, having played in the league. He had followed my career as an assistant, coaching very good Dartmouth teams. And so I came down and interviewed and was given the opportunity, and I haven't looked back.
Great. So now, how many years now at Princeton University?
I'm starting my 11th, just finished my 10th full season.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a special place for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've read about you a little bit online.
Yeah.
So you won the championship, 3 times?
Yeah, no, we've been to 6 of the last 8 NCAA tournaments. So I took over the program. They had a great legacy of excellence, athletic excellence at Princeton, but the basketball program hadn't yet caught their stride. And I liked that challenge. So I took over a team that had never been to the NCAA tournament. And then we went my third year, and we've been 6 of the last 8. So we've been able to have great success.
Great, and you've won the Ivy League, I mean.
Yeah,
2 or 3 times.
we've won the Ivy League. I think it's 5, maybe 6 times as well in the last
6
6 to 8 years. Yeah.
Great,
It's crazy.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So now let's go into high school.
Yeah.
The students. How did the students that are girls out there, how do they find Princeton University? How do they get recruited by Princeton University?
Yeah, the college recruitment process is pretty convoluted. It's pretty expansive. So they're doing a variety of things. Recruitment often comes down to accessibility. How do I have access to these players to find out who's the right fit? So a lot of people are playing at the club level, so they're using their summers to play either club soccer, club basketball, in our case basketball. And then the NCAA kind of dictates a calendar of when we're allowed to watch them play. And in July is a pretty heavy calendar. We're allowed out, I think it's 14 days in July. And so we scour the country during that time, and these kids are playing in multiple tournaments. And we're sitting there on the sideline with a notepad and with their college with their information, kind of their roster, and we're circling kids and taking notes on kids that we think can help us. And then it being Princeton, there's a high academic component. So what we choose to do is first find out who are the kids that we think can help us, and who are the kids that we would be excited about growing their game. And then we go back and we really hunt those transcripts down, and we whittle that down to who also not only has the level, but also has the academic background that's going to thrive here.
And now, do you find it majority of the kids coming from the United States, or does it come all over from the globe to Princeton University? Where are the kids really coming from?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it really depends on the sport. So if we're talking truly just about basketball, we find that over 50 states, we've got plenty of people to choose from in our own country. But there are our fencing team has very few Americans. It really depends on your sport. Soccer, I know, is heavily international. Ice hockey does a lot of Canada. It's just in basketball it's not that there's not a lot of high-level players playing in our country from overseas, but at Princeton we have such a national scope that we choose to really hone in on the continental U.S.
Okay, so now the kids that are playing high school, you're usually playing your college sport at the same time they're playing high school basketball.
Absolutely.
So do you recommend that these kids play not just high school, but they play these outside club teams?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the specialization that's happened across the board. I was a 3-sport athlete. That's pretty rare these days, in part because people want you to make a choice. They want you to make a choice so that you have enough time to develop your skill at that level. So if you love basketball enough to want to play it at the collegiate level, you love it enough to want to play it in the summer too. And so the summer puts think about it like this. The summer is going to put all the best players from your region on one team, not just your high school. So your high school is a much smaller pool, and so you might be the very best player in your high school, but when you get paired with the best players in the region, things start to kind of equalize a little bit. So yeah, I think summer access allows you to be seen. An additional way people are recruiting at a heavy level is through the institutional camps. So each institution can host these elite camps that allow players to come to their targeted schools. So we'll have people that are targeting the Ivy League, and they will go to a handful of the Ivy League camps. And we've taken kids that we've never seen before that came to camp because it gives me a 48-hour period to really work with them individually and find out what they're about. So I would say summer, whether it's playing on club teams or going to institutional camps, there has to be a way where you're getting access and you're being seen.
Now, what's some of the requirements at Princeton University, academic-wise as well as athletic-wise?
Yeah, athletically, we'll start there. I think it's recognizing that we've been in the top 25 2 of the last 5 years. And there's 350 Division I programs. So, we've beaten USC, we've beaten Michigan, we've beaten Rutgers and Seton Hall by 30 this past year. I mean, we play at a very high level. So you kind of you have to be one of the very, probably top 100 players in the country. And then on top of it, academically, it's the #1 school in the country for the 7th straight year. And so the transcript and the standardized testing have to reflect that you have a deep commitment and connection to your academic performance. And so grade point, we really don't boil you down to your number here. Having said that, you should, of course, be getting mostly A's and some B's, but not mostly B's and C's. That's not what they want to see. And then in terms of your course rigor, what makes sense for you? If you're stronger in the math sciences, challenge yourself there. If you're stronger in the English and histories and social sciences, take some honors and AP classes in those to challenge yourself there. So there's no I wish there was a real defined equation. There's not. It's really performance and excellence. You're seeking that kind of in all the areas of your life.
So now, I've had many different coaches on over the years.
Yeah.
And usually a topic that always comes up for parents is it's all about the sport. It's not about academics at the college level.
Yeah.
What do you say about something like that to parents?
I'm so glad you asked, because I think that's what makes Princeton unique, and the Ivy League in general very unique, is that you are not defined by your passion. You're encouraged to find passions at Princeton. And so, we don't silo our student athletes in terms of athlete housing and athlete dining halls and athlete study tables and athlete. We really want our athletes to be genuinely a part of the genuine population of our school. And I think therein lies the university's strength, is that you take these people from all over the world who have really intense passions and are really talented in very different areas. Hip-hop dancing, a cappella singing, basketball, ice hockey, and you put them all together in their classes and in where they study and in where they live. And I think therein raises your bars across the board. So that makes us very different. I do think there are some institutions, many institutions, because they're paying for you to be there, they're sort of managing your experience in a way. And we don't do that. We really want you to have a true Princeton experience with your passion being part of it, not defining it.
So now another thing that comes up by parents is money.
Of course.
Money at the
Absolutely,
school.
yeah.
It's expensive to go to an
No
Ivy
doubt.
League school.
Yep.
How does Princeton work with
that.
families?
Yeah, handle that. I would say that what Princeton both figuratively and literally does is it meets your need financially. So if your household income is below a certain threshold, Princeton's free. It's all grant money, so no student's going to graduate with any loans. So whatever you qualify for based on your need is what you get. And if you make enough money where $60,000 a year doesn't impact you, you're going to have to pay it all, regardless of your talent, right? I would say I think the average grant is $46,000 a year. It's average. And there are over 60% of our students are on financial aid, which is, again, all grant money. So I think Princeton's got a wonderful endowment, and it's happy to educate the people that get in. So they're two separate qualities. You first get in, and then they will figure out how to pay for it. So it is very need blind. And so there's just no merit scholarship. They don't want to value the athletes any more than they do their musicians or their science students. But I would say that we've been able to compete at a very national level athletically because first of all, Princeton's very generous depending on your need. And the second point is it's a great investment in your future. And so we really try to help parents understand that the rate of return on your investment for what these students are doing when they graduate and the salaries that follow that and the passion that follows that is profound.
So now there's always a ratio. How many kids do you recruit to get the number of kids that are on the actual basketball team?
It depends on the time of year. So when we're going out there in the summer, we're watching freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and we don't have their transcripts at all times yet. So we're just literally who can help us. So that number can be quite big, right? And then we start to get their transcript and some get weeded out. And then we get their testing, right? And some more get weeded out. So it really depends on the time of year. Once we get to the spring of their junior year, we're allowed to pay for families to come to campus and spend the weekend. And the NCAA allows you to do 12 of those. I would say we've never have more than 5 of those because we bat a very high percentage, as you can imagine. So if we want 4 kids and we invite 5, we sometimes end up with all 5, which is a good problem to have.
And how many kids are on the basketball
We have
team?
14 on our roster.
Okay.
We're allowed to travel 15. You can have 17, but we have 14.
Great.
Yeah.
So now a girl comes from high school, goes to Princeton University. When does she get there, and what happens from, I guess, August or September to the following July? What's the process that particular student will take?
Well, once you're admitted, which is by November, if you do the or December, if you do the early action process, you're officially a Tiger, right? So we ask you to kind of continue to show your stripes all throughout your high school year. Finish strong. Then you get into the summer, and by then we will have sent a weightlifting packet, and we'll sort of getting them ready physically for the demands of college. And they arrive in early September and go through some orientation and go through pick their classes and whatnot. And then we kind of hit the ground running. So we're a year-round sport. So we're allowed to start with them the first day of classes, and we do. We practice 2 hours a week, which is not very often. They lift 3 days a week during that time for the first 2 weeks of classes, and then by October 1st, we're moving. We're going long, and we're going a while.
Okay, and then they go right through the Christmas holiday, right?
Oh yeah. Thanksgiving. We'll be in North Carolina this year. We're at Davidson the day after Thanksgiving, so we'll be flying. Actually, we play on Saturday. So we'll be flying on Thanksgiving Day. The collegiate athlete for the basketball season being so long, they'll be home for probably about 5 days over Christmas. But otherwise, they're with me, and they want to be. This is their love. But regular students that don't have the athletic commitment will have much. They'll have a week at Thanksgiving, and they'll have kind of almost a 3-week period over Christmas. It just really depends on what you're doing with your time at Princeton.
And so if you make it to the NCAA tournament, you're now going into March?
Absolutely, yeah. So our last practice, we went to the NCAA tournament obviously most of the time, and I would say that's during spring break. So we play through fall break, we play through Thanksgiving break, we play through Christmas break, and we play through spring break. And our kids would have it no other way. It's a good problem to have. So we give them about 2 weeks off when they're done in mid to late March. And then we start back up with skill work until they graduate, until they leave for the summer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's I think especially the parents of your kids, you sort of probably there'll be some concerned parents who are saying, oh my gosh, I want them to go to school, and I think it's remembering that it's 2 hours a day of a 24-hour day,
right?
And the experiences that they're going to have and the lessons they're going to learn as student athletes are remarkable and life-changing. At the same time, it's what they want. This is their love and their passion. So I think it's a real holistic way to educate your child. You kind of get it in all avenues, but it's absolutely a time commitment. It's very different than our high school commitment.
Now, how do they squeeze all of the academics into that?
Yeah, you choose Princeton because you want to have it all. You want to be challenged academically. You take usually 4 classes during that semester, and then you also want to play at a high level. You also want to have a social life, and you want to have all 3 of those things at Princeton. And there's time for all 3. It does come down to time management. And I also say I think the key is, especially these days with social media and with their cell phones, is just be where you are. If you're in practice, be there. Yeah. If you're in class, be there. If you're studying, take the time to get the work done. If you're hanging out with your friends in the dining hall, be present. So we talk a lot about being where you are, and that allows you to get the most out of your day.
Yeah, great. Now, also, a lot of the kids, their aspirations is to do something after college, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you talk to them about the WNBA, about USA basketball?
Yeah. I think why I've stayed so long at Princeton is I connect really well with the core values of the institution, and that is we're going to help you, find your passion, and then we're going to help you be in a field. We're going to help you be in that field when you graduate. And so we've had every number of things. We have kids working at Google, at Nike, in banks. We have med school. We have overseas basketball. We have the WNBA. So really, their interests are as different as we are as people. Yeah. And so therefore, what they do when they graduate is as different. And at Princeton, you can literally name it. You name it, and we can help you get it. And that's what you're paying for.
Great. And now they also then come back as well, right? You get a lot of alumni that come back.
Man, yeah, that's why it takes so long to decide who I want. It's because they never leave. Once they're a Princeton Tiger, it's like nothing I've ever seen. The love for this institution at the undergraduate and then graduate level is remarkable. I would say I've been here 10 years. I talk to at least 1 per class every month. I mean, so I'm talking to 30 kids I coached every month. Very normal. Hey, coach, I got a job change. Hey, coach, I'm pregnant. Hey, coach, I'm getting married. Hey, coach, do you want to go golfing? Hey, coach, when are you coming to visit New York City? We kind of get it all. And it's because of their deep connection to this place that they just love coming back. And therein lies Princeton's success, is that people want to be a part of this place forever. Yeah,
fantastic. Now, you also coached the USA team.
I did, yeah.
Right?
This past summer, I was invited to coach the national team, the under-23 national team, so the very best college players in the country, 12 of them. We took the team out to Tokyo, where we played Tokyo, and we played Canada, and we played Australia. And to be able to take that group of people that were so talented and try to meld them into a team so quickly, and then to play at the international level with international rules, it was a highlight, a lifetime highlight for sure. And I learned a lot, and I think I gave it my best. So it was a good mix.
What's one of the lessons that you learned by coaching there?
I think at all levels, regardless of your instinctual talent, the love for learning the game. Whether you're people who kind of can do a little bit of everything, and kids that have been at the highest level, top player in the country, they just want to learn the game. And I just want to teach the game. So I think it just continually reaffirms that coaching basketball is a career of impact and a career of legacy, and it's worth the investment of your time and resources.
Yeah, and coaching wise,
yeah,
there's a lot of different coaching styles out there. Yep. What's your type of style?
I think you'd have to ask my kids, but I think what they would say is that I'm very relational. I've walked their walk. I've lived it. I've lived the Ivy League experience. I've lived the idea of why not us, right? So we won an NCAA tournament game. That has only happened one other time in Ivy League history. We're getting close to the Sweet 16. We finished 30-0 2 years ago. We finished in the top 15 in the country. It never happened. We were ranked in the preseason for the first time in Ivy history. Why not, right? So I have a competitiveness and an optimism, I think, that is palpable. But in terms of my daily interaction, this is not my show. I'm a part of it. And I think that allows me to coach in a relational way, that my role is to guide and empower and inspire and challenge. Just like their goal is to stay engaged and to develop and to trust. And no one's is more important than the other. It's how are we relating to one another. And I think that's probably what I would say about my style.
So now what's one of the challenges that you face with a lot of the kids that come to Princeton University? Is there any type of challenges that a student coming from high school, coming into Princeton, what are the challenges that they're faced with?
I think one of the more common ones is these are people that have really worked hard for success throughout their whole life. And so they haven't faced failure. And failure is quite a relative term, right? I mean, these are, boy, I'd love to have the failure they have. But they, and so when they hit bumps in the road sometimes, it feels bigger to them because they aren't as used to it, right? When you get to be my age and your age, you've made enough mistakes along the way. Yeah. So it's truly how you navigate them and how you go around them. And I think what I try to do is really help my kids learn how to do that because they haven't had as many, because they have worked hard enough to be in position of success most of their life. So I would say the combination of fear of failure, perfectionists, obstacles being at sometimes debilitating. So I think they've met their match because you're going to dream as big as I do, you're going to fall down sometimes. And so I fall down a lot, so I've been able to help them through that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So now, is there a lot of traveling that's involved with your
Absolutely.
position as well?
We get to, so I take the team. I went to Australia last summer. We'll be in Cancun next Thanksgiving. We'll be in North Carolina for Thanksgiving and Florida for Christmas. So wherever our games are scheduled, we try to take our kids at home to their home region at some point during their 4 years. Wow. And we have kids from all over the country, right? So that covers that. And then international experience, we'll take them one every 4 years somewhere in late August, early September. So we went to Senegal, Africa. We've been to Australia. And then in terms of my finding talent, I've been to Corvallis, Oregon. One of our captains is from Corvallis, Oregon, and that's not an easy place to get to. You go wherever the right kid is. Really? And so part of it is going enough places to really hone in on who the exact right one is, and then you've got to be present for them, right? Because most schools are regional recruiting. Yeah. So they're going to be able to be more present in those home regions. Right. So we have to travel a lot to make sure that they understand that we're as interested, even though we're from further away. Yeah. So I've got a lot of airline miles, and I've got a lot of points in hotels.
Now, finding those kids though, you get inundated from data from everywhere. Yeah. There must be there's services out there. Yeah. There's coaches out there.
Absolutely, alums.
Yeah, no doubt. There's friends, neighbors. There's all kinds of people that just inundate you with data. Yeah. How do you just cipher through all of that and finding the right kid that matches what the school is looking for?
I think it's a multi-step process, but for me, it's when I'm watching body language, the intangible of effort, and players will worry. They'll go home in their parents' car and they'll be worried that I didn't shoot well today. I'm never going to be recruited. I barely am paying attention to that because I'll get you to score, right? It's the intangible of who you are as a teammate. What's your energy and effort? Loose ball. Are you talking on defense? Some of the things that kind of show who you are as a competitor in person. And then the academic piece is really straightforward. That's just transcript hunting, et cetera. But in terms of, we'll take any leads we can from anywhere. We'll research them based on who the source is. Yeah. Some more heavily than others. But we're certainly grateful when people care enough to say, I think I might have a nice hometown hero that I think you'd be interested in. But really, I think it's the stress that parents and recruits feel, especially when coaches are present, that says, it's all laying on the line. Mm-hmm. And for them to understand that the things that you guys are valuing might not be what we are. Yeah. We already know you can score, that's why we're there. We already know you can jump and run, you're already there. We don't know if you do it consistently all game. We don't know if you dive on the floor. We don't know if you talk. We don't know if you communicate. We don't know if you give eye contact to your coach. Mm-hmm. Those are things why we're there to see.
Yeah. So if you have a bad game, that's not the point you're looking for.
Especially if who's determining the bad game. If I think it's a bad game, it's not great for you, right?
Yeah.
But the things that we're watching are not just how many points did you score, because I might not be needing you to do that. I might be needing you to be a part of what we're doing and not score 40 a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the recruiting process is a lot more stressful on the parent side and on the kid side than it is on the coach's side. We know we're not going to watch a kid one time and be done with it. We watch these kids multiple times throughout their journey. So it's just we just are a little more laid back about it. I think that would if everyone just understands that people end up where they belong, I think it will be a little smoother.
Great. So we're coming to the end of our show.
Yeah. Oh no! Already? That was too fun.
Yeah. See, 100 shows already.
I mean, it just goes fast. I'm honored to be here.
Great. But usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents out there that their daughters are interested in coming to Princeton University? What advice do you want to give to them?
I would say there's a couple different things. One is engage. Engage with the people that are going to help you. And so if that's your own guidance counselor, if that's the coach or the community or the whatever it is that they're going to want to do when they're in college, it's no islands. It's just engage, right? Make sure that people know where you want to be. If you want to play basketball at Princeton, go to an institutional camp so we can be seen. Contact via email or phone. Hey, my kid's interested. Mail a thing. So engage in the process. I think that's important, and not engage only with your peer group, because they're not. Sometimes I think parents say, "Well, that's what these people are doing." Well, they're not into college yet either. So who knows if that's the right way to do it, right? So I think engage with the people that have done it before. The people that have come ahead of you, or the people that are engaged in your own high school community or in that college community. That's one advice. I think the other advice I'd give to the actual recruitable athlete or the recruitable sort of collegiate student is to really find happiness. When you go on that campus, when you talk to those people, when you get a piece of mail, when you go on their website, does that make you happy? If it does, that's something inside you telling you, look more, look deeper. And sometimes happiness gets left out of these kind of Venn diagrams, these pro-con charts and everything else, when I think success, finds happiness. And so finding a place where you think you're going to be most happy and recognize that everything else will take care of itself.
Right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Happy to help. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.